Hey folks, welcome to another unboxing video on Wolfman's Gaming 10. Today we're unboxing the game Daimyo, Rebirth of the Empire, a game designed by Jeremy Doucet, and artwork by Dimitri Chapias and Anthony Wolf, published by La Botte des Shows. My apologies if I'm pronouncing any of those incorrectly. It is a game that was recently delivered to its backers, so I'm excited to sort of like crack into it and see what's inside. It definitely seems to have a very unique theme going on. Now, the front cover sort of like tells you that yes, there's a bit of a feudal Japanese theme that's going on in there, and as we crack into it, we'll see that theme continue inside as well. But if you look a little bit closer, you'll see something quite interesting. You will see that there are gears at the top of the helmet. This you would have instinctively sort of like thought was potentially a horn, but if you look closer, it looks more like a bike handle. So it's interesting. There's definitely unique stuff going in here, and as we look at the components once we get into it, I think we'll find that it is more than meets the eye as far as the theme is concerned. So we'll start by looking at the core game box itself, which we have right here. But as part of the version that I had backed, we'll also have a look at the upgrade pack, which upgrades a few select components in this particular pack right here. And we'll also have a look at the miniature set. So this replaces some of the pieces in that box with miniatures, basically. So the more plastic, the better, I assume, is the theme over here. But before we crack into it, there is something that I wanted to quickly point out, which I realized as I was looking at it, which I thought was very cool, and hopefully you guys feel the same way as well. If you actually have these boxes stacked side by side on your shelf, they actually make one consolidated image, which is very neat. So you know, it's a nice little touch that's in there. At the end of the day, you might actually take pieces out from here and put it in the main box itself. So you might not have it this way in the shelf, but in case you do, you want to keep this stacked this side up with this artwork, obviously sort of like covering it. And I don't think the other side does the same thing, or does it? No, it doesn't. So really, it's on the right hand side that you want to have the artwork aligned with the three boxes. So keep that in mind if you have these three boxes and you want to put them on the shelf. But with that said, without much further ado, let's crack into the base game itself and see what's inside. So we'll quickly flip it over and get rid of the shrink before we dig into the art style of the box itself. All right, there we go. So first things first. Generally, again, I'm a sucker for the feudal Japan as a theme. Rising Sun is one of my favorite games, and I love that theme to bits. And any other game that incorporates a similar aesthetic. So this, just from a thematic perspective, works for me. Now on the back's end, we can see the board, some of the pieces that we can expect. So there are going to be player boards. There's going to be a main game board, bunch of cards, bunch of other pieces. So we'll see what all of that looks like, but you can see that feudal Japan theme sort of like carrying on in here. So as far as the description of the game goes, it says, on the ruins of a misunderstood civilization, the new daimyos are bringing out the rebirth of the empire. Crafting dice, crafting boards, managing resources are your new weapon in this strategy game, and so on and so forth. So there's a bit of a dice drafting element going on in here. So that should be interesting. It's definitely a theme that, that I enjoy quite a bit. And of course, the game is designed for 1 to 4 players, and it is expected to play in roughly an hour and a half. So let's keep that in mind. I like the aesthetics, love the color, love the artwork on this. So with that, let's crack into it and see what's inside. So you have a pretty standard inside of the lid. First thing, obviously, that we see is a rule book, and there's only one rule book in here. And I think some of these, this game might have also come with the French version of the rulebook, which I don't think I have in here. So we start off by looking at the contents. Setup. Setup does not seem that complicated. We have the anatomy of the island, so it sort of like walks you through some of the very key concepts at the start of the rulebook itself. Playing the game. Different things you can do on your turn, I assume. Summary of main actions. So it looks like you get a summary of the main actions through your playboard as well, which can act as a bit of reference cheat sheet, if you will. Again, I'm guessing just by looking at the look of things. Then you have the end of the game, two-player game, so there might be certain variances in rules if you're playing a two-player game for this one. And of course, you can play solo as well, as we had looked at the play count earlier. So there's some rules and pieces for you to consider for that as well. And then at the very end, you have an FAQ, credits, and don't forget, so sort of like good to remember kind of stuff at the back of the rulebook. Generally, there's a decent amount of artwork in here, so hopefully that helps illustrate the game a little bit easier and makes learning it a little bit easier as well. Of course, we can't confirm that until we actually crack into the game itself and learn the rules and try it out. But for now, it looks promising. Rules seem to have a little bit going on in there, but hopefully nothing too overbearing. So that's your rulebook right there. Let's have a look at the punch boards. So it looks like we have these pieces that's actually split out into different parts. Thickness is decent. Artwork, of course, it's hard to tell once these are taken apart, but it looks like you might be putting these together in some shape or form over the course of the game. If we have a look at some of these very quickly, artwork on this is all right. It's not wowing me so far, but at the same time, I'm not concerned with it either. It looks good for what it is. And then, of course, you have these counters, and these are all punching out quite well. The quality seems to be pretty decent. And then these are on the smaller end for sure, but again, they're punching out well enough. So hopefully usability is not a major issue for these. And then you have some unique one-off pieces right there. I don't know what these are, but there you go. And then, of course, we have more of this carrying forward through here. And again, these are punching out quite easily. So it looks like these are fairly decent. And there's stuff on the back as well. Are these double-sided? No. So it looks like these have numbers on the back. And again, it does feel like you might be putting them together in some capacity or the other over the course of the game. So nice. So you have those. Then it looks like we have 4 different player boards. Now this is not cardboard. This is basically thick stock paper. And then you have things over here. So given the fact that it is a dice drafting game, you might be drafting dice and putting it on these spots, I assume. Maybe they look like spots for dice, and doing certain things, and these might actually tell you what the actions are. But again, I'm guessing at best at this point. We'll figure those out later on. But there you go. So there's 4 of these, one for each player. Another set of cardboard, and again, these are small-ish. These are punching out well, so there's no concerns there. But these tokens definitely are quite a bit on the smaller end. Either ways, hopefully it's not too much of an issue, but just thought I'd point it out. As you can see, lots of them fitting onto one sheet right here. So that's there. Next up, we have the player board. And you know what, in typical sort of like fashion for the unboxing videos we have on this channel, I'll save this for the end. Oh, and it is not pulling out. Oh dear God, I hope I don't tear it. All right, never mind. It seems to be out. It seems very bright and colorful, but we'll come to this in a few minutes. Let's see what else we have in here. So dice drafting game obviously cannot happen with a bunch of dice, so let's start by looking at that. The seam, decent. These are not very big, but big enough. They seem nice and chunky. These are numbered, so these look like standard D6s. Nothing funky going on with the die values, but it seems and it feels good. And I assume, yeah, these are, if you're rolling these quite a bit, these are going to be not too bad. All right, let's come to the cards in a minute. There's a whole bunch of wooden pieces we'll get through as well. Some smallish cards. There is a bag with Daimyo printed on it. Decent size. I can fit my hand in here, and my hands are not really all that skinny, so it's not too bad. Decent sized bag. And then you have these, which are just floating around at the bottom right here. I'm not sure what these do. But let's look at it very closely. So again, it's hard for me to tell what these do without really knowing the rules of the game. But again, they seem to be the same component quality as the player board that we had a look at earlier on. So these might be board extensions or something else perhaps that you do with. We'll figure it out. That's there. Let's have a look at the wooden pieces next and see what we have in here. And we definitely have quite a bit. There's definitely quite a bit. All right. Okay. We'll get through it. Let's see. So these look like buildings, I think. I assume these are buildings. These are building shaped, kind of. And these have sort of like these holes in the middle, which I don't know if something's supposed to fit through them or if they're just supposed to be that way. But that's there. But these are chunky enough. These are wooden pieces for sure. These are not plastic. But they seem all right in terms of what they do. I assume these might be in the different player colors, but that's just me guessing. Is there 4 of these? There's blue, purple, green, orange. So it might be the 4 different player colors in there. Then we have these bag right here, and these are quite small pieces. These look like fans, maybe. This looks like a I don't even know which side is the right way up. Oops, never mind. Let's bring that guy back and see what's happening. All right, we found him. He's not lost. Yeah, and I think this is the right side up. So it looks like he's digging for something with a spade. Would be my best guess. And then maybe with a backpack on his back or her back. But there you go. And this seems to be, obviously the one that we opened up is, I think for the purple player, but I assume we might see these for the other different colors as well. So we'll confirm that in a second right now. So purple, and it looks like we have the same thing in green, blue, and orange. And interestingly enough, so here we saw those small fans. It looks like the other colors have different shapes in them. So I'll just open another one as an example. So orange has these gear type thingies instead of the fan that we saw with purple. Blue has, what do they have? What do you have? Leaves? I think in there. So you have that player piece, which seems to be common for all of these, but then the other pieces are unique. And then this is a tree, perhaps? Maybe? I don't know. I'm just guessing. My artistic sense is not the best, so I could be completely off there. But there you go. So we had a look at these. Let's crack into this one next. These look like some player pieces, just larger ones, and they're all the same, so I'm not going to take all of these out. Let's just have a look at one. And this might be your fighty, stabby dude in the game. So it looks like he has a sword on his or her back with the knife as well. So interesting. So that's there. Some standard markers or pieces. Then we have some more building type things. And again, these are all the same, so let's just have a look at one very quickly. And again, this has that those gaps in the middle. But again, these are large enough, chunky enough. So they seem decent in terms of what it is, in terms of the wooden quality. And then more of these player pieces in the different colors. So there you go. That's their purple guy. And again, I think this is where it gets a little different. So the orange guy seems to be holding up something different. The purple guy is holding up something a little bit different. So aligns with what we saw in the sort of like these bags earlier. Nice. So far, wooden pieces I'm pretty happy with in terms of what I've seen. Cardboard, it's all right. Thickness is good, which is one of the key things you want to keep an eye out for. let's crack into the cards and see what we have in here. So there are two sets of cards. You have these, what I assume are standard sized ones, and then you have these smaller ones. So we'll start with the smaller ones first and see what's in here. So it looks like these are all goal cards. So you might be looking to complete certain objectives and score points accordingly. So I have the most influence on the 3 islands, have 10 influence on 1 island, and so on and so forth. And these are gold cards as well. These are, but they seem a little different just based on the color. I mean, here you have 2 different kind of points. Here you have 1, but seemingly these are all gold cards that you are working with basically over the course of the game. And so that's these. Next up, let's crack into the deck over here. Did I get that? I did. Almost. I can do this. All right. Well, you think I can do this, and I have. Voila. All right. So, card seems decent. The finish on it is not bad. There are different kinds of cards in here. So you have this back. Again, without really knowing what these mean. So some of these have certain values printed on the back. You have these cards. So these might be reference or scoring cards. Daimyo. So these might be the standard deck. And if we flip it around, we can see the artwork on some of these. So it looks clean enough. You have the numbers, meaning I guess certain things on the sides, certain actions printed right underneath it. And then you have the artwork in the center. And I'm going to zoom in so that we can have a look at some of these very quickly. I like the aesthetics. I like good level of detail on these from what I can tell. And again, they do seem to be unique, which I love. Nice. So again, I don't know sort of like how they factor in gameplay wise, but the art on this is very, very decent. Very decent indeed. I like these. I like this quite a bit. Nice. And then these are, yeah. So these are a little different from these because they don't have the money thing printed on the top right hand side. So it might be sort of like a starter deck versus maybe cards you acquired over the course of the game. This might be sort of like your reference sheet for how you might score, which we had a look at earlier on. And then I don't know what these are. Actually, these might be the AI cards, I think. Maybe. I'm guessing, but I think that's what it might be. And then you have the Empire abilities. Yeah, I think that's what these are. These might be the cards that you work with if you're playing solo, I think. Nice. So that's your deck right there. Let's clear this up very quickly and we'll have a look at the board. All right, guys. So I quickly set up the board and I decided that it would be best if I zoomed out a little bit just so that we can get a full view of what's happening with the game board itself. So a couple of very first initial thoughts. It is a full-size board, so you definitely need a little bit of real estate to be able to put it out on your table. The artwork on the background is nice, it's detailed, it's colorful, it pops quite a bit. But what it also means is with all the different icons and tracker markers and whatnot that you have on the board, it starts looking a little busy. Hopefully once you start playing the game, it is functional and legible and easy for you to sort of like figure things out. But just at a first glance, it does look a little busy in terms of everything that's happening on the board. But again, I'll reserve judgment on that till I can actually get it to the table to give it a play. We have the tracker on this other side. So again, that might be currency, that might be your points that you're tracking along with. And it looks like there's some sort of a round marker, I assume, going on this side. And the board is double-sided. So you can tell by looking at this over here at the very bottom right, it tells you that this is for single player, 3 players, and 4 players. So interesting enough, because the 2-player actually has its own dedicated side on the other side. And I'm not going to flip this whole thing over, but just moving this like so, you can tell you know, the other side has the artwork as well, but half of the board is basically printed off. I'm just not going to flip it over because I'm going to move things around quite a bit. But you do have sort of like a part of the board marked off on the other side. Yeah, and that's that. So that's the playboard right there. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the quality of what's in the base box itself. I know that we do have the miniature boxes to get through as well, but if you're still playing with the wooden pieces, or if you just have the version that has the wooden pieces and not the miniatures, I think you're still going to be quite happy with those, because as far as wooden pieces go, those are quite decent, and they look reasonably good quality as well. So with that said, let's put this aside and let's start cracking into the two other boxes. All right, we're back, and I thought that we would start with the upgrade pack first. So this is, and if we flip it over, I think we can, the playboards, it looks like, will be upgraded in this. And if you remember, we had seen those smaller sideboards in the base box itself. It looks like those are going to be upgraded in this as well. So those might be the two key things. I assume that by upgrade, basically it might be cardboard at this point, potentially dual layered in some capacity. But we'll see what's actually happening in there, and if any of the other pieces are upgraded in here as well. But given the fact that we will have the miniatures for the wooden bits, we might not see anything other than the playboards in this one. So let's open it up and see what's happening in here. All right, so that's, I think we have everything out, and it looks like these are the 4 playboards, and these are the sideboards, right? So I think I know what's happening in here. Basically, you need to take these off, and then, so it's a, if you guys have played Praga Kaput Ragni recently, they use the boards in a similar capacity as well. And then if you fold this over, you have your dual layered board, so you can put your stuff down in here. It has those grooves and indents. It's a nice way of solving for sort of like a dual layered board, because sometimes if you have dual layered boards that are glued on, they can warp a little bit. And I guess in theory, at least, these are supposed to be a little sturdier than that. But again, you of course have the other issue, which is that these don't attach. So basically, yeah, if you leave it like this, at some point, I guess these are going to go flat. But as of right now, what do you say? Never mind, it was tempting. But there you go. So that's that right there. And then the same thing's basically going to happen with these boards, playboards as well. So I'm going to punch these out so that I can give you guys a look at how this looks once everything is said and done. And I think we've punched everything out. And then, so you can see sort of like this thing on here tells you that you need to flip it over. And then once you do, you have a handy dandy dual layered board. Nice. So again, I'm not too concerned about this. I know that I was making jokes about this one, but I'm not really concerned. These look fine as is. They should work quite well too. I wish that there was something in here that attached these the way that again the dual layered ones in Praga Kaput Ragni did, but it should be fine. And once you start playing, I guess these are not going to be much of a problem, as it were. So I like these. These are definitely a good upgrade to have in the base game itself. Not to say there's anything wrong with what you get in the sort of like the core box, but these are dual layer cardboard is always nice because it helps keep things in place. So right, so basically in this one we get these 4 different playboards, and then these 4, I assume these are sideboards of some sort that go on in there as well. So that's the upgrade pack. Let's put these aside and come back and have a look at the miniature set. All right, folks, and we're back with the Daimyo miniature set. So definitely the thickest of the 3 boxes that we had a look at so far. This is, if you sort of like go back to the start of the video where I had the side-by-side for these boxes, this is definitely the thickest of the 3. So I assume there's definitely more than 1 layer of plastic pieces in here. And then secondly, there's definitely quite a few pieces, I would assume. So it looks like there's going to be a whole bunch of plastic in here, and these are probably going to be the replacements for all the different wooden pieces we saw in the box right there. So without further ado, let's crack into it and see what's happening in this one. All right. So this is a nice little touch where it sort of like gives you a quick insight into what's in there. And there we go. And then of course you have a nice little insert with the insert lid, which is quite sturdy actually. So that's always a good sign. And these look neat, don't they? These are just neatly arranged in straight rows. I definitely like the look of these. The colored bases, I assume, are for the different player colors. And let's have a look at some of these very quickly. The level of detail is quite decent, actually. So I definitely like the looks of these. Now again, the game I'm sure works just as well if you have the regular retail version, but if you have these, again, I don't know. It probably doesn't add anything from a functional standpoint, but I'm sure it's going to be very nice looking once when you have these pieces out of the board. And again, level of detail is quite decent, if you can tell. And then lastly, the pieces for the green player. So it definitely seems like there's a bit of a theme going on in here. The green guy has trees and plants on in there. And the other guys have their own thing. So the fan that we saw with the purple one, I don't know what these are, but that's there. But either ways, it's I like the quality of these pieces, as it were. So let's crack into this further. So that's the first lid, first layer rather, sorry. And then there's another insert before we crack into the second one. So, and the second one, of course, has pieces that have just flown around by the look of things. So that's the green guy. So it looks like we have a few more of these pieces on in here. And these are similar to what we saw in the earlier ones. I'm not going to go through these, but we'll have a look at the ones which are different and new. And these look like your warrior pieces or soldier pieces kind of thing. Obviously, guys who are not going to make a friendly social call with the trap and the scythe, as it were. So you definitely want to be on friendly terms with these guys. This guy looks like some sort of an explorer. There's a nice little backpack going on. Nice. And obviously you can tell that it's not really all feudal Japan, because it looks like he has a laptop on his lap, as it were, and has chic glasses and really seems to be excited about something. Maybe his bid on eBay just got successful. I don't know. Again, level of detail is quite good with all of these. I'm very happy with how these look. Yeah, she reminds me of this character from Mortal Kombat, actually, Sindel, I think. Good level of detail. I am very happy with these. No complaints from me on the miniatures for sure. Nice. Very nice. And I think we have these sorted. We have a look at, well, we might have missed this one. So let's have a look at this one just very quickly. Again, sort of cyberpunky aesthetics going on. So it's a bit of an interesting theme there. And then it looks like you have these building pieces, and these are just chunky plastic pieces. So you can see it's solid. Looks like some sort of an antenna on top of the building. Nice. And you sort of like have these neatly laid out, which obviously I've managed to muck up somehow, but yeah, these are nice, very nice. And the other buildings are all pretty much the same, but just different color. colors, excuse me. So I'm not going to go through all of these. And this is the other building type that we have in there. So again, if you're somebody who likes painting the miniatures, not only can you paint those guys, I assume you can do some pretty decent work with these pieces as well, which are quite nice. It feels solid. I don't think it's hollow, but even if it is, it's decent enough quality where I don't think it really matters on that. So we had a look at this, and these are all pretty much the same, but just different colors. So that's it. That's I think all we have in this box right here. So a couple of quick comments before we sort of like wrap this up. Quality of the miniatures and the plastic pieces are top notch. Very, very happy with these. Quality of the upgraded components, again, very happy with those. Those are definitely the right pieces that you want to upgrade, and if you can have those, those are great. But as far as the base game goes, I'm very happy with the quality on that as well. If you're somebody who has just the base version, I think you're going to be pretty happy and pretty satisfied with those as well. The wooden pieces look good. Overall, the art quality on the cards is pretty decent as well. The only concern I have is sort of like the busyness of the main game board, but generally I'm very, very happy with this. Really excited to sort of like crack into it and try it out and see what's happening with the game. And in the meanwhile, that's it for the unboxing for Daimyo. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, do like it and subscribe to our channel. And in the meanwhile, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.